Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are in Hawaii as we get ready to start up with Game 5 of the FBA 2020 Finals. My name is Marcus Baylor, and to my right is Ryan Eastman. How are you doing, dude?
Doing excellent. One more flight down. One more maybe to go. Two more potentially. But we are here with the Tide Series 2-2 back on Kahuna's home court. Big game for both teams as they are both looking to gain that edge and put the other in an elimination matchup for Game 6. But here tonight, we talked about it a little bit last game. You were talking about feeling like the Taproots maybe will be the ones coming out victorious tonight. Have you been able to reflect on that hypothesis, and do you feel it's the same before the game starts?
Pretty much the same for the most part because of the fact that the Taproots have been controlling each and every game throughout this series. Yes, Hawaii was able to win too, but it's only because of those final stretches that were much needed. But I think that the Roots have been able to pretty much say where things go for the most part. And I think that they're pretty much going to come in with at least some sort of confidence. Yes, they lost Game 4 at home. You expect them to pretty much really want to win out for those two. And Hawaii has proven that, yeah, they can win on the road when it counts for it. But once again, a majority of the game, the Roots have been on the driver's seat. I still haven't been able to see the chance for the Kahunas to really do that, but that may change here.
Yeah, now that they are back in front of their home fans, you have to imagine that the crowd is going to be electric tonight as they know that this game is so important for them, for their team, that they are coming out in full force here. It's going to be probably the most hostile environment the Taproots are going to face in the series, unless this goes to 7, and then I can't even imagine how bad of a bloodbath it will be in the crowd.
Oh, for sure. I think that one of the big things that we're going to be looking at here is once again the front court and the foul trouble that seems to be having between them. I know that for game, actually, I believe game 4, it was one of the guards for the Roots. No, yeah, for
It
the
was
Roots.
River. River fouled
Yeah,
out.
River was the one that fouled out these last few games, and then of course we had Tate and Barrett that fouled out in a game also throughout this series. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in this game, and if Turner gets fouled out in the game. So that will be a really huge game changer for the Roots right here.
Well, statistic-wise, of this game series so far, whoever had a player foul out went on to lose that game, which means that I will be keeping an eye out on that foul number for each player as we go through. As you said, Turner fouling out would be huge. That would actually probably be a game-changing, even if it happened in the last couple seconds of the game, if it's a close score. Obviously, River, I talked about fouling out the other game. The Taproots at least have some depth at the center position, but in the end it was not enough to overcome the Kahunas. And obviously the Kahunas, Tate and Barrett, are household names, and Wati really is a significant downgrade for either of them, so it is probably more painful for the Kahunas to have a player foul out. But we'll just have to see here tonight. I think I see the players entering the floor. Any last words before this game gets started?
Nope, I'm just excited to see how this one turns out and who will be able to take the lead for this series.
And heading to tip-off, and something you've mentioned, the last couple tip-offs have gone the Kahuna's way, and we'll see if that continues. And it does. Tate getting the better of Turner in terms of tip-offs, despite his slight disadvantage in height. And JCK wanted to get started early. He had a great game 4 compared to earlier in the series, but misses that long 19-footer there.
Yeah, JCK has really been, his story has been the struggles that he had throughout this series. We do get to see Kenny with a quick 2. And it's going to be interesting to see what he will be doing in his mindset, because he had a very solid game in game 4 that helped the Kahunas get out of there with a win.
Yeah, I can definitely see that they started to bring their guards more into the game plan throughout the series. Even though they've struggled with it, we see him taking another shot there, and no good from inside the paint. We see a fast break, Andre Matsunora laying it up and in. That's good for 2, and we see a 4-0 start here. And I keep harping back to that game 2, 0-16, and we see a block, and it looks like the Taproots are going to try and have their own starting run as Kenny elevates for a dunk.
Yeah, and as we get things started, Plymouth has already up 6-0, really trying to get something going here in the early going in this game.
And that's good defense coming out from the Taproots. And Vastenhout's going to take a step back and does get the first basket for the Kahunas here. And now it's going to be on their defense to see if they can get a stop here. Obviously, that last bucket was in transition off a block, and that's really difficult to set up a significant defense, especially with Kenny slithering around. But that's one way by Tate sending it into the crowd. It will stay with the Taproots. But big block against Andrea Matsunoro.
Yeah, that's one way to pretty much let you know that their defense is not going to let you go slide in every time.
Especially if Tate can get a significant presence. His speed is his worst factor in terms of being able to transition back off of offense. He's very impactful getting the offensive rebounds, but that translates to a slow transition back on defense. And Kenny, another good shot there, and 8 points already. And I can say that Turner has 0, which is concerning if you're a Kahunas player and fan.
Yeah, and Kenny DeMarcus, this is probably his best start so far within the series. He's had his struggles here and there from game to game, but this one he's really showing now, as we do get to see Barrett score him for the his first points of the game.
Yeah, Barrett had a bit of a down game 2 where the Taproots won at home, and I think it'll be important to see how he plays here. Obviously matched up against Cruz. Size and weight advantage worked out for him driving the post, and Kenny trying to continue his streak, but Tate is enough of a defensive pressure to impact the shot, and Barrett will clean up the board, letting Vastenhout bring it down the court as he tries to find his way into the paint. Double clutches off the back, no good. Tate fighting for the rebound, and Matsunoro comes up with it in the end. And Kenny in transition for 3, no good. Cruz, offensive board, tries to put it back up, but Barrett manages to hold off Turner for the rebound.
Yeah, and it was good on Hawaii to try and contain that momentum, as Tate's able to cut the deficit down to 2, 8-6. And that's something you want to see for the Kahunas after that a little bit of a rough start in the early going, being down 6-0, using that defensive prowess to try and regain control into this game.
Yeah, I think whoever has the better second chance opportunities will be the one who wins this game. And as I say that, there's one second chance opportunity for Turner as he cleans up the miss and puts up 2 points.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the biggest assets that Turner really seems to have as well with his speed. He knows his well around the paint, as we do get to see Tate showing his athleticism on his own as he cuts the deficit down to 2 with the dunk.
And we saw him even the last bucket he scored before that, where he had to make up for a bad pass from JCK. He wanted to go for an alley-oop 2 possessions ago, but ended up having to lay it up and in after JCK's a little bit wide pass. And you can see multiple frames of athleticism as he blocks Turner. That's Tate's second block so far. JCK will take possession. Starting off cold here tonight. See if he continues to try and shoot his way out of his slump, or if he's going to take more of a ball handler passing role, setting up his teammates as he calls for Scooney. Getting the screen, and shot clock starting to wind down. Forced to take a difficult shot, and no good on that attempt.
Yeah, that wasn't really good. I think they're trying to go for an ISO play there as Kenny's wide open for 3. Not able to get it down, though, as River cleans it up for him.
And River, first bucket of the game, but keep an eye out on him and see how he is handling fouling out last game, and obviously the Taproots losing, and if that has an impact on how he plays here tonight. And Scooney gets dished the ball against Cruz once again, just takes a mid-ranger, and it is good over the bat.
Yeah, and I think that's really been the main thing that Hawaii's been relying on, is the mid-range and the paint. That's been the theme for both of these teams really throughout this series, and it'll be interesting to see who's going to be looking on to rely on the three-point line more as the game goes on, because that's really been the name of the game for who gets to win this series. we get JCK go on the line for 2.
Yeah, obviously, Plymouth has come out on top in terms of the series as a whole in three-point shooting, and that has been off the back of DeMarcus, Cruz, and Celis. Whereas the Kahunas have struggled. Doyle has hit a 3 here and there, and JCK has attempted quite a few and struggled to really find his rhythm from beyond the arc. But as we saw last game, once he started getting going from mid-range, he was able to have a pretty good impact on the game. And with his second free throw here, he is able to tie it up 12-12. A little over 6.5 minutes left to go in the first quarter.
And I think JCK might have to go and dive into that a little bit more, considering that the mid-range has been a friend to him in the early going. Got his confidence going so far, so it'll be interesting what to do back on offense.
Driver dish over to Cruz, left wide open for 3. It's a high arcing ball, no good. And Turner, another offensive rebound, but unable to convert it there. And a fast break, 1-on-2. JCK, a 2 in transition. That will fall, and that gives the Kahunas a lead here.
And that is one way to get that confidence up. Being able to take an easy mid-range shot, even take the lead for your team, that will certainly make more buckets to come in to follow.
And River, not so agile footing, slips and puts his paw on the line, will go out of bounds, and that is a turnover. Possibly a chance for Hawaii to add a little bit to their lead. This is the first lead they've had as they started quite cold down 0-6. And they'll let Vaston, who dropped the play, and he drives to the paint, dishes to Tate. If only he was a stretch for, he could have taken an easy open 3 look, but he'll just give a screen for JCK, and again, no good off the really good screen. Trevor Cruz on the other end, all around Tate. Pulls it down and lays it up and in, tying it up 14 apiece. Vaston, who alley-oop attempt, no good. It looked like he got tipped there by River. And
you got to be really careful as Scooney. It draws his first personal. You got to be really careful when it comes to alley-oop passes. Alley-oop passes are really good for the highlights, but it can be dangerous if you're not too careful, because costly turnovers could easily happen, and it could lead to opportunities for fast break points.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we saw there. Scooney had to foul, and it was a very smart foul because he fouled as a reach-in, not a shooting attempt. And a no-look behind the back pass to Belmare. Excellent play there. She gets an easy layup off that beautiful assist. That's going to be a top 10 play for sure on FSPN.
Yeah, it's early going in this game. We'll see if that's going to be in the highlights as we see JCK go for 3, and it's no good.
They're trying to play the screen game, and they're definitely getting open but struggling. 1 for 7 so far, and they've all been on target, just missing it. As long as he keeps it close, he might be able to make that small adjustment to get them to fall. But he needs to find it quickly here before he lets the Taproots get a lead. And Doyle, in transition off of that missed shot from the Taproots, will make a convert from 15 feet out.
Yeah, that's another player that we can look at over here as with Doyle, as well as Yona, seeing if they can be able to try and take some of that load off. As we do get to see Yasina try to go for a long 2, but it's no good.
And Yasina was the player you've raved about coming off the bench for the Taproots, having a significant impact as Doyle misses his 3. But last game, she really didn't show up all that much, and it relied on Sophia to try carrying the Plymouth bench.
Something that you would kind of expect. Like, we know that everyone's going to be human, especially in a series like this one. There's going to be some chances that you have some cold streaks. So who's going to be able to pick it up for you as Yasina for a tough 2, not able to get that one down.
Who's going to be first? No, fast break. He just missed an opportunity to pass it down to Alphonse for a quick play. Maybe a little bit concerned that his defender would intercept the pass, but that could have been a good opportunity for a quick bucket. And they'll go to JCK on the right sideline. No good again from beyond the arc. They are trying to let him find his rhythm here. And the game's tied at the point, so I can't fault them too much. But Turner will clean up that miss and put the Taproots up again.
Yeah, I can understand that they really want to push him, but I think it could be good for you to rely on your other players to really get some offense going. As Scooney really does need to pay attention, even though it's not on the court right now.
Yeah, I mean, again, one of those players, he can be the it factors. We see him fight his way to the paint, and I guess that's one way. Start from close range and work your way out. As he has been one of the best, better shooters of the season as a whole, especially from beyond the arc, just struggling in the series. And if he can find his rhythm and close it out in these next couple games, that'd be a great way to wrap up the series. As we see a foul coming in, Delgado pushing Marone. He'll go to the line 4-2. And another factor that's been and it goes along with the fouling. Obviously, if you foul a bunch, you're more likely to send your opponent to the line. Past couple games, the team that has had more free throw opportunities also came out on top. As we do see, looks like the rest of the starters will get a chance to rest with 2 minutes left to go in the first quarter. Marone was good on the first. And on his second as well. We'll see how the bench is for both teams, who they go to. Delgado had a couple good games to start with, but it's been the veterans, Monge and Alphonse, who have really been consistent. They don't necessarily put up 10 points a game, but they shoot very high, efficient shots, and it shows in their field goal percentage.
Yeah, and that's what you expect in very experienced players like those two. Not being able to just duke it out, as Tay goes for a very tough shot there. Norris able to get the rebound, though, and he's able to clean it up.
And exactly that. The third-year player making a mistake and backing up all the way to the logo on the court, taking a long three, did at least get the rim, and that gave Alphonse a chance to make something out of it. And Celis able to make her first bucket after 2 misses early in the game.
That's what you're probably looking for, because I know that Tay and Celis has really been the stars coming off the bench in this entire series. But as we alluded to, when one or both gets cold, who will be the one to step up? And so far, for the Kahunas, it has been Blanc and Alphonse.
And driving into the paint is good for Delgado. Now, I am a little concerned with how he's running the offense. That's 2 possessions in a row that the shot clock has wound down, and he's been the one left with the ball. I'd like to see a little bit more activity early in the possession. Try and get a shot off maybe around 8 seconds, not relying on just an isolation play. It's not as productive as Alphonse stripping the ball one-on-one, has a clean lane in the basket, throws it up and one. Chance for a 3-point play here.
Yeah, and that goes to show that sometimes ISO plays can really be a disaster if you don't have the right players to do it. It seems like the Roots have really tried to rely on Marone the most when it comes to the ISO play, but for the most part, it hasn't really worked for them.
Yeah, and that might just be part of his play style. Ooh, unfortunate miss for the end one opportunity, as we saw some substitutions from both teams. And that's exactly right. When you play isolation, especially at the top of the key like that, if you get stripped, it's an easy bucket going the other way unless you are an absolute speed demon. And we see them tie it up once again with only a second or two separating the shot clock and game clock. I imagine this would be a time, Kahunas, to let the shot clock wind down to the red before you take your shot.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're doing here. It's something that is very imperative for them to really take that final shot of the quarter. Possibly take the lead here as Tay goes for a tough 3, no good, but Alphonse gets the rebound, and well, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, as we end the quarter 24 apiece.
And that's the only argument you could make for taking the shot a little bit earlier is for that second chance opportunity. But honestly, probably for the best as we end the first quarter tied 24-24. Last game, the Kahunas were in a 10-point advantage after the first quarter, and we saw that slip away. Yes, it slipped away, but they managed to come out in the end.
I will have to say that this is the first time we actually see the game tied at the end of the first quarter as well. So it'll be interesting to see, like, with it being essentially a reset in the second quarter, on how well both of the teams will play with this mindset.
And a long 3 attempt is no good. And I would comment that the fact that almost every quarter has been a 1 or 2 possession game for the first, at least, except for that one 10-point difference that was quickly evaporated the other game. And both teams have played, like I said, very well. It's just always seemed like it's been the Taproots one half step ahead. As we see Sunderman fighting his way into the paint. Double clutches. Doesn't want to fall. It does end up being a miss, but Monge gets fouled on the cleanup attempt and will go to the line for 2.
And yeah, that'll be Sophia's first personal. Sophia had a really decent game on game 4. We'll see how she's able to play here as Blanc's able to make the first one.
And we'll go ahead and substitute out Norwich, which makes some sense. He's been on the court for a while, and he's definitely been active on both ends. Might want to limit his minutes and keep his energy level up, especially if he's needed later in the game. And both free throws are good. So we'll go the other way now, and Celis will take point. But loses the ball, and Samantha Orca, good vision, picks it up, and even though Celis tries to make up for it and take a quick shot, unable to, and Delgado will take over for the Kahunas.
And that's a little bit unfortunate. I know that there isn't as much time as you almost lose the ball like that, but it's probably good for you to reset as we get to see another failed attempt for the Kahunas.
Yeah, 3-on-2 fast break. Keep an eye on Celis again, forcing her way. Okay, I'm not liking how she's playing tonight. She seems to be forcing it compared to the first few games. As King switches paws, no good. Samantha almost swatting it out of the way, and I could almost give her a block for how much she impacted the shot there, but fortunately that's not a stat of almost block. We'll see what the Kahunas can do after the Plymouth miss. Delgado gets looked like he had a lane, but backed off as looks like they're going to set it for a post play. Kealoha.
Yeah.
It's a great advantage there in terms of size.
Yeah, I really like that matchup. Considering that you notice that Krillinger is just sitting right there into the paint with such a big body to go defend against, that's just an easy bucket all day, every day.
And Celis forcing it again, does make it work this time. And I want to go back to that previous Kahunas possession when I said that Delgado backed off. I think he saw that matchup too and decided that that's what he wanted to go with instead of trying to force it himself. And that's a really good heads-up play for any kind of point guard to read the situation like that. And we see Sunderman with the mid-range.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you need as a point guard, because your job is to survey the field in order to see what the best options are. And that was the best option, as we do get to see Celis go into the paint, no good there. And Samantha gets to go on the line for 2 more after trying to clean it up, as Nolan King, the rookie, gets his first personal.
Yeah, I think that is a good comparison to how Celis is playing it right now. She is definitely not minding the field in terms of how she's playing the point position. Obviously, they're making substitutions and bringing some of the starters back out. But obviously, a lot of younger players or players that aren't as experienced at playing point are more prone to those mistakes. And that's kind of where Kinney comes in for the Taproots, the veteran, spending many years on the bench learning how to play the game from some of the best players in the league, and obviously finding himself leading point on one of the best teams in the league now. And Yona, much the same way, fourth-year player, laying it up and in.
And now we're seeing the Kahuna fans really starting to get into the game, as they are leading up by 4. We get Krillinger wide open for 3, but it hits the side of the rim.
Yeah, and I've been a little surprised how quiet the Kahunas fans have been so far, but then again, they did have a bit of a slow start here, and they pitched it up, and Yona coming off the bench, that's his second bucket there, and now we're starting to see the difference in field goal percentage start to creep up in the Kahunas' favor at 50% from the floor right now.
Right now, the crowd is starting to scream defense. They are definitely into this game right now, as once again we get another failed attempt there by Plymouth. They haven't really scored in the past couple of minutes, it seems like, as King gets blocked there. I think that was on. The Cruz was the one with the block, as they still get possession. It
was, and that was a cacophony of errors, because King actually lost the ball, picked it up in stride, took 2 more steps, and then jumped with the one flap and got blocked out of bounds. And that was a lucky possession to go to Sunderman for the 2 off the inbound. And We're watching the Kahunas build a bit of a lead here, up 8.
And I think that's something that's the best out of the situation. Being able to just go ahead and take the L on the block and have someone else try and take care of the business.
And Cruz off the pass, no good from beyond the arc. And Taproot's a bit cold from three-point land here tonight, and I can't say much better for the Kahunas, but they have kind of abandoned that and moved to the post as Kilo once again finding that matchup against Martin and abusing it.
Yeah, and so far you have to say that the bench for the Kahunas have been the one to take the driver's seat for the most part.
Samantha missing that shot. Tate was definitely around her, and she must have hurt his foot because she put a little more power behind that than intended. And you can just see how much of defensive pressure he has when he is able to make it to the post. And Yona,
Ooh.
a little too open there. Too much power on the layup.
Yeah, that was a very easy miss to make because once again, even though that Blackmont will go on the line, Blackmont draws a foul and Cruz goes to the line for 2. That possession, there were literally no one within that lane. That was such an easy lay-in with just too much power to be put in there.
Yeah, part of it, I think maybe he saw Samantha out of the corner of his eye start making a motion towards it, but at the same time, it probably was he was trying to rush it to the basket too much and put a little too much speed behind it, and we see Cruz landing both of them, putting Plymouth down by 8. But as you said, the Kahunas have been in the driver's seat in this second quarter, and the only good news for the Tappers is they have not had a significant cold streak. They are still scoring, just not on as many possessions, many opportunities. And now that the starters are back on the floor, you have to feel like they're going to have an opportunity here. Is Scooney using Tate for the screen and to getting himself open. The power forward playing point there.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the good ways for Scooney to actually get into the game offensively. Because there are times where it seems like he hasn't been as active as he needs to. As Kenny tries to go for a quick 2-pointer, and it's no good. So finding any sort of way to get some offense and him going at center and links it up and in.
Oh, and he gets actually hit in the back by the ball as they tried to pass it to River. And I think that might be the way, like I said, to get Scooney more involved. And Rivers played a very close defense on Scooney, and I can appreciate maybe changing it up and letting Scooney take the ball and use the screens to get open. And there we have it, the first 3 coming from Cruz, bringing it back to a single-digit deficit here for the Taproots.
Yeah, we haven't actually get a chance to talk about Cruz as much in this series, as he's had a pretty decent outings from time to time. But just being able to get him heating up can easily wipe out this lead for the Roots.
Yeah, definitely the 2 players are kind of get overshadowed a little bit by those around them. As we see a missed attempt there, and Turner will get fouled by Scooney, and that's Scooney's second, so you got to keep an eye on that. Don't let him get to 3 before the half comes to an end. But River gets overshadowed a bit by Turner, and Cruz gets overshadowed a bit by Kinney. Obviously, the 2 rookies drafted very high during the rebuild of the Taproots, and kind of have to wonder where they might end up after this rookie contract runs out this offseason.
Yeah, I believe that with this finals, everyone's going to be looking at those 2 in particular, considering their situation, and they have a chance to really kind of put a staple on it as we get to see a long 2 there from JCK.
Yeah, first attempt coming off the bench, and I like it. It was great. Again, that mid-range, if that's what's working for you, just keep attacking from there. Don't feel like you have to stretch out to 3-point lane if you are struggling. As we see Torrey blocked by Tate. Sorry, not Tate, Waddy. And in transition, giving up to JCK. JCK, an and one, and Cruz isn't happy. That's his second personal foul, too, and an and one opportunity. And right there, points in the paint. Look at that. 30 points in the favor of the Kahunas.
Yeah, they're really trying to play with their bread and butter. They are known to be a more paint-favored team.
And we see him miss there, and a quick pass to Belmare, and Belmare will get fouled by Vasenhout. A little worried there. I thought that might have been on Scooney, but Vasenhout will be the one to get called on the contact, and send her to the line for 2. And with a little under 5 minutes to go in this quarter, we have not seen Plymouth really make any headway into this deficit. What do you think they need to do? What changes do they need to make to their game plan to get back in this game before the half comes to an end?
Well, considering the fact that Turner is in the game right now, I think you won't be able to rely on him a little bit more to turn it up, because they are down by double digits still, and you want to be able to have some kind of control going into halftime. So trying to find that momentum, which is really huge, as that's not going to help anymore as Barrett gets the dunk. So trying to find a way to plug up the paint even more so too, because there are times when the paint is just clear as day for the Hawaii Kahunas.
And they need to honestly limit the turnovers. We've seen quite a few coming at the top of the key, and that time Turner was nearby and able to foul is the only way he could really stop it there, and it'll send Yona to the line for 2. Or sorry, not Yona, Doyle to the line for 2. And just the lead ticking up, and I 100% agree they need to find a way to put a stop to the Kahunas in the paint and honestly find that rhythm themselves. Their field goal percentage is below 40%. I talked about it last game. Keeping an eye on where they sit. They've won the games where they've shot higher percentage, and when they've been below 40%, they've lost. And DeMarcus in transition is good, but his scales were on the line, so they will only go for 2.
Yeah, and I think that any kind of way to get the points diminished is good, as Maroon's able to get the rebound. Trying to get a run going is going to be very imperative for the Roots.
Yeah, well, one way to get it going is the charity stripe. If they can start making those, Belmare will go to the line for another 2. She missed on her last opportunity, but can get it back to single digits here with only 3.5 minutes gone, and that's Vasenhout's second. And Belmare might be one you want to go to when you want put some pressure for those going to the foul line, because she is struggling there right now.
Even with the struggles, being able to try and draw these fouls is going to be very important, as we alluded to in previous games. When a team has a player fouled out, they ended up being on the losing end. And right now, the Kahunas do have quite a few players that have their second personal already.
And Yona coming in around Turner, who tried to come in and swat it. He just held onto the ball for that extra half second to clear the Fox, and then lay it up and in against DeMarcus. And Yona stepping up this game. Seeing the pass over to DeMarcus. DeMarcus has been a main offensive power coming on for the Taproots, but it's blocked. And Norwich bringing the ball up for the Kahunas. Down, dish low to Vasenhout. A teardrop, no good, and he almost gets the offensive rebound against Turner, but it will go back to Taproots' way. And up to DeMarcus once again. Will dish it over to Moron. Moron calling for the screen, going for a little bit of isolation again. Hasn't worked in his favor for most of the game. Calling for another screen, but they back off. Decides to dish it to Belmare, who gives it to Cruz for a really tough 3, and it barely finds the front iron.
Yeah, Maroon was holding that ball way too long.
Yeah, again, the play design seems to be, and again, maybe not as in tune with the rest of the team. And, oh, we'll see a foul on Maroon. That's a blocking. That was off the ball. So the Kahunas have possession.
Yeah, hopefully all the Furs that are on the bench are okay, because I did see them flying across the court, as we get to see another reach-in foul, this time on Kenny.
And they're just not happy. And that's thanks to the bonus. They will go to the line 4-2. And, yeah, thankfully just be glad it wasn't like Tate and Turner crashing into the bench.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, it was just Marone and, yeah.
That's
or Turner
quite a lot
DQ.
of Fur to deal with. Oh man, yeah, that's probably too much for you. Would expect an injury at that case, making sure that we get the paramedics ready for those situations.
Belmare laying it up and in, getting it back to 11-point game. Well, I'm just glad DQ has never felt like diving for a ball out of bounds where we're sitting, because we've had a couple players end up on our casting booth here near front court, and it's dangerous enough when you see a normal size fur charging at you. Another thing when you see a 350, 400-pound fur coming at you.
But we get a nice block there by Natalie.
And a quick play to Springer, going for a difficult shot, leaning into it. Doyle will get the rebound, and 90 seconds here to go, and the Kahunas are still up, and Delgado breaking from the right sideline. That was a needle threaded to him for that dunk.
Yeah, that was not really a good play by Springer, trying to force her way into it. You can see a huge block there by Waddy, but gets cleaned up real quick by Springer. But yeah, going into that, the few possessions ago, Springer trying to force their way in to get a fast break is not really always wise, especially when it's well defended like that. And that pretty much what led to those quick points for the Kahunas.
Yeah, we saw a cleanup attempt there just not work. He completely mistimed his jump, and it does mean that the Kahunas, depending on how they play this possession, might have the last shot. The Taproot's going to burn it down, try and find some opening, and maybe rely on DeMarcus for a three, and no good. But Turner found his way to get that offensive rebound and the slam.
Yeah, that's a good way to try and cut the deficit with down single digits. If they get a stop here, they have a chance to even cut it even more so.
Delgado trying to get it done, and unfortunately that will most likely mean that the Taproots will have the last possession of this quarter. There is a slight, they haven't shut the shot clock off yet, but if they do take a shot, it'll be a buzzer beater most likely. And it looks like they want to give it to Kinney for potentially a three, but no, going to drive into the paint, no good. 1.5 seconds left, and it's good off of the putback from Belmare. 0.9 seconds left, and that is the end of the first half. The Kahunas are up, however, by 7, 54-47. And we will dive into the halftime stats. Doyle, 1 for 2, hasn't really taken that many shots, but 3 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, getting it done as a point guard. And JCK picked it up a bit, 4 for 11, 10 points total, 3 assists, and a rebound. Bastenhoot, 4 for 9. Delgado, 5 points, 2 for 6. His last couple misses definitely hurting him in his performance. Scooney, perfect from the floor, 8 points, 3 rebounds. Norwich, 50% from the floor, 4 points, 4 rebounds, assist, and a steal. Tate, perfect from the floor, but still kind of quiet on offense. Only 4 points, 4 rebounds, but 2 blocks. And Waddy, 3 blocks, getting it done on defense with 2 rebounds. Blanc, 2 points, 4 rebounds, and an offensive one coming in. Sunderman, 4 points, perfect from the floor as well. A lot of great stat lines. King, 1 for 4, 2 points total. And Kealoha, 4 points, 3 rebounds, and an assist. Kind of see how the field goal percentage is so high for the Kahunas, and we jump over to the Taproots. Jake, 12 rebounds, 8 points. DeMarcus, 8 points, 4 for 12, struggling on offense and 2 rebounds. Cruz, 7 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block. River, 2 points, 1 block, a steal, and 3 rebounds. Springer, 2 for 5, 4 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. Torrey, 2 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists. Missed both of his shots, but they get 2 points from the free throw line. And Belmare, perfect from the field except for free throw line. 2 for 4 there, 8 total points, 4 rebounds, and a block. Matsunora, 1 for 4, 2 rebounds, or 2 points, 1 rebound, and assist. Celis, 2 for 7, 4 points, 1 assist. Samantha, 2 points, all from the free throw line, 5 rebounds and assist. Martin has missed both of his shots, and Sophia with not much on the board herself either.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been a very interesting first half, as to say, and really you gotta be good for the Kahunas of being able to contain a lead for a majority of the first half. So this is the first time we really get to see them in the driver's seat for the most part. But the Roots have been able to find some sort of rhythm going at the end of the first half. So it's going to be interesting to see if they'll be able to continue that as we roll on into the third quarter.
Yeah, now that all the starters are back on the floor, keep an eye out on them and how they've done. A couple players have been quite absent so far. River, for example, and Turner will get us started with a foul on Tate. That's his first. Turner has a chance to go ahead and get a double-double here, and most of his points have come off of second chance opportunities, so it's nice to see him actually take a leading role in a possession and take the shot.
Yeah, I think that might be once again showing the confidence that the Roots have had in their other players, because they have been doing very well throughout the series, trying to get everybody involved as much as possible and not need to have Turner take over. But in this sort of circumstances, when you're down by 6, you would want to have your uh, main go-to guy just take over and do what they need to do to um, stay in it and possibly take the lead entirely.
Yeah, like you said, in the past games, there's at least been one or two Furs that have really stepped up, so they didn't have to rely on Turner. And this might just be the game where he has to say, "Okay, guys, just everyone get on my shoulders, let me carry you." We'll have to see if they do go with that, and that's one way to do it, is blocking Scooney on his attempt. Gonna be a Taproots ball. Matsunori dishing down low to Turner, and here we see a great matchup, but he misses.
Ah,
JCK able to get the best of the Fox.
yeah, that one's gonna really bite you in the butt, because that is such a great massive matchup to have if you're a Turner.
And Doyo gets blocked by Matsunori, and he actually goes for the ball and steps out of bounds, and what would have been a continued Kahuna's possession now is a turnover. Taproots with the ball, and that's just a poor mistake in terms of, he probably thought that they were going to try and swipe the ball, but Tate sends Turner's shot out of bounds, but only 4 seconds have elapsed in the shot clock, so essentially still a full possession for the Taproots here.
Yeah, and I'm about to say that it was a little bit of a panic from Doyle there, trying to be able to get the ball back, try to get something going, but a costly turnover there. And we do get to see the Tate and Turner matchup has really been very interesting so far in this game.
And illegal screen called on Cruz, and that will be another personal foul. That's 3 now for him. He's definitely not happy with that call.
Yeah, and now you're a little bit worried for Cruz, because this is actually the first guard that we see in foul trouble. It will be interesting when they're going to take him out, because it's very early on in the second half, so you really don't want to get that 4th foul very early.
Yeah, I mean, they could afford to keep him in, and because I imagine the starters will be in for maybe 5 or 6 minutes total, and miss shot there. And if he does get the 4th foul, you'll just pull him out a little earlier, as Matsunoro gets a 3rd foul on Fastenhoot, so that's the 2nd guard now in foul trouble here, and the and 1 opportunity, so Taproots could find themselves within 2 points here if he can convert it.
And that's something you really want, is to be able to try and kind of dish what the Kahunas have been dishing you, because both teams are very well known for their paint play, and it's not surprising that they're trying to go ahead and go toe for toe within the paint. But it'll be interesting to see what the guards will be doing here, as Yona gets a drive down and not able to get it this time.
And Turner going to bring it coast to coast. Dishing it to Matsunoro, over to River. River almost losing it there, but goes up against Scooney, and it will be a foul on Scooney, and that's his 3rd. So now a few players starting to get in some dangerous positions here.
And that'll kind of make it very interesting to see how things go, because so many players have had their 3rd foul, and people are probably going to play a little bit more cautiously. So I won't be surprised if they slow the game down just a little bit as this quarter rolls on.
And a chance to tie it up here. Like I said, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if maybe they continue to try to attack the post, because if either team can get one of their other starters in trouble, it could have a huge impact, especially if, like, Scooney gets impacted. I mean, obviously the Taproots have not had such great bench performance here tonight that even though Cruz maybe not putting up a ton of points at the moment, getting him in trouble would definitely be a downgrade for whoever they bring in. And I don't like that possession. That was a little too quick. And Turner, one-on-one, likes that matchup, and he will exploit it every time against Vastenhood. And Plymouth has their first lead in quite a while.
Yeah, and that's what you would expect for Turner to do. Seeing the matchup that he has, he'll just go straight right into it, and all that you can do really is to let him shoot or just foul. And Yona doing the wise move and just letting him go down there because he has 3 personals right now, and as you can see, 4 minutes of a drought, and now the Roots are starting to get ahead.
Yeah, what was drought at the end of the second quarter has extended quite a long way, and of course the Kahunas. First time out for either team here, in fact.
Yeah, they've just been letting these guys play on, which is a bit of a surprise here because you would usually see the first timeout really be called sometime in the first quarter. And since we've gone an entire half without having one, it's pretty interesting to see why the coaches decided to let these boys play out for as long as they did.
Yeah, I think it shows the trust in the Taproots coach has that even though they were down by a bit of a margin there, that he was comfortable with letting them dig their way out of it and see if they could on their own. And obviously making calls from the sideline was enough. You see Doyle going for a play, gets blocked there. 3 seconds left. Vassar's going to have to drive the paint from the free throw line. A little too strong off the back. DeMarcus will bring out the other way, dishing to Andrea Matsunori, who gives it to River in the post. And Scooney with his foul also not able to put up much of a defensive stop there. And suddenly it's Taproots up by 6.
Yeah, the Roots have really kind of taken control of this game, being able to do very well on defense with the block and finally made them have forced into a tough position to miss, and then go for pretty much a fast break point opportunity as Barrett tries to lay it up and in, but it's no good.
And now that close range is starting to betray them, and there we have 4th foul on Scooney, and I would be shocked if they do not sub him out. But then again, and it actually looks like both teams starting to bring in some fresh legs onto the court. We'll see both teams.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
I can't be mad about that, considering the fact that we do have one player finally get the 4th foul very early on in the third quarter. You, even at the position that you are, you need to be able to be like, all right, we need to have you there at least in the 4th quarter. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of keep him on the bench until maybe 10 minutes left of the game, but we'll have to wait and see. But right now, it's smart for them to get CUNY out of there as soon as possible so they won't be in even more trouble than he already is.
Yeah, and Vassar from the free throw line's no good. Tate, is he going to get the first bucket? No, he doesn't, but a chance for at least a point to stem the bleeding. And you are 100% right. I mean, there's 20 minutes left to go in this game. And if Scooney were to get a foul in the next couple minutes, you would feel your heart sink as a fan because you know that it's so difficult to go that long without fouling out, especially when the other team knows that they are going to be able to attack you for almost free and force you to make contact. And Tate missing the second, so hasn't broken the drought yet, truly.
Yeah, and they're only down by 7, so it is manageable to get back into this. But you do have to worry a little bit since they're going to have to rely on their backup front court for a little bit longer than you would like. We're going to see Maron try to go for a very, very tough shot. Obviously overshot that. And Hawaii has a chance to diminish this deficit back down to 5.
Yeah, and that's again an isolation play that just did not work out. And obviously Tate and Yona still on the floor for the Kahuna, so maybe they still have an opportunity here to make an effort to get this lead down a little bit more. And this is a good matchup. Kealoha likes it and will get the contact. Oh no, traveling. His pivot foot came up, and that's such a rare call at this level of play to see, but turnover there.
Yeah, I think at this point, I think the Roots are in the Kahuna's head a little bit. Another costly turnover. They haven't really been able to find any sort of answer on defense, really. So, again, they're relying on the paint so much. It just seems that they're bullying their way to a good extensive lead.
Yeah, the shoes on the other paw now is what once was a Kahuna's advantage. I feel like has gone to the Taproots now, and we do see both substitutions. Bastenhood finally the first bucket, as you see a 17-3 run. The fact that this is only a 7-point deficit speaks to how much of an advantage the Kahunas had built, and they've had to watch it slip away now.
Yeah, now they have to try and see if they can answer back with a big run of their own. But of course, they have to get a stop somehow, as Nolan King has guarded Celis very well, as Tahiri goes for three and is in and out.
And that's one way. Make them take those long-range shots. Yes, they honestly, the impact of having an opponent make a three, especially if you've done so great of guarding them to the last couple seconds, like that is a huge blow to your mental fortitude. But at the same time, that is the most likely way to get back in this game. And River going to clean up that miss. And fast break opportunity. Samantha laying it up and in. And Vastenhoot, as you saw, struggling in the second half. 1 for 6 so far.
Yeah, and so far they do need to find some kind of answer within the paint for the most part, because that's where they get a majority of their offense anyways, as Manja almost loses the ball there. Instead tries to go and lay it up, but it's no good there. River gets the rebound.
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of not having enough of a defensive pressure down low in the post as Samantha just bullies her way for yet another layup. That's her third basket, and right there is the reason that the Taproots find themselves ahead. 64% this quarter, and yes, the Kahunas have to call timeout. They can't afford. They had a double-digit lead against the Taproots in that second quarter, and now they've watched it flip-flop on them, and now they find themselves down by 11.
And the big thing is the fact that they haven't been able to guard the paint very well. And right now, Samantha taking a huge advantage of that. She's really been the hot paw coming off the bench in this game. So once again, we have a new player coming for the Roots to do what they need to do to take to really help this team really go ahead.
Yeah, and it's just great transition. I want to see who's going to step up. We need someone from the Kahunas to step up, and it needs to probably be one of the veterans, Monge or Alphonse. They need to step up and show leadership, even if it means they have to do it themselves. It looks like they'll pass it down to Norwich in the post, but blocked, and he does get the rebound, but the shot clock is his enemy, and it will expire when he gets the ball back. So that is a turnover, and Samantha finally will be benched for fresh legs of Belmare, and they're going to keep River on the floor, and that is concerning if you are a Kahunas fan.
And I think it's because of the fact that they know that the Roots know that they pretty much have everything up into their paws, and they don't want to have to get it diminished. So seeing River on the court still is going to be a problem, because he currently to go for another tough shot, no good there, as Delgado gets the rebound.
Yeah, they're keeping him clearly for defenses. Delgado left wide open, lane of the basket, lays it up and dunks it, and that is this first significant real points we've seen in a little while here, and still it brings them back to a single-digit deficit here, but they need 3 more stops, really, to even make this game competitive again.
Yeah, you caught the Roots sleeping on that possession, and they're not able to make it this one. So they have a chance to see if they can make some noise. Basically, he'll go for a long two, but it's no good. But Monge cleans it up.
And that's what I want to see, is Monge stepping up and crashing the boards like that, even though the Taproots, and that's kind of where they maybe will be able to catch the Taproots sleeping a bit. They have built this lead up and blocked. That was by Monge, I believe. No, that was actually not Monge. That was Wadi. And a layup is good, and quickly Delgado has brought them back into it. He's been the spark off the bench this game, and it's a 5-point deficit. I wouldn't be surprised if Plymouth calls a timeout, but they're going to let them run with another possession. As Celis calling for the screen, gets open, driving but gives it up back to Belmare. Over to Marone. Calls to the screen. Isolation is good. Quieting the crowd for a second here.
Yeah, and I think that's what the Roots' job is to do. They already have this extensive lead. Pretty much Hawaii is going to be due a run at some point throughout these games like this. Is just trying to go ahead and cut it off early is what's going to be called here for the Roots who want to win this game, as Marone once again going into the paint, laying it up and in. Starting to be the main point of offense now, as once again we do see Plymouth up by 9.
It's worked well in transitions. We see Strip there, a fight for the ball, and they're going to say it was off of Celis, so it remained with the Kahunas. And Marone hasn't done so great in isolation, but when it's been a fast break, it has worked out. So clearly, one-on-one, he can make it work, but the Kahunas' defense is just so good at supporting, even when it's an isolation play. So he'll have to develop that as Wadi goes for a fadeaway. Celis will actually get the board there.
Yeah, that's not really what Wadi is known for, with those tough fadeaway mid-rangers. So it's not a surprising he was able to get it down this time.
Again, trying to do it on his own, no good. And Norwich, quick pass up to Monge. Trying to stretch the defense out and see if anyone can make it into the post, but gives it back to Norwich, who almost loses it there, collects it back up. And as you see, they switch defenders. Shot clock starting to become a problem as Sunderman calls for the screen. He needs to get something done, and not a long three, as well off the mark there.
Yeah, that was not a very good possession there for Hawaii. The transition to offense wasn't that great, and they weren't able to find any sort of opening along the arc, so it was no surprise that they had to once again have to take that tough shot with the clock going down.
Yeah, even though the defense works in the Kahuna's favor on the Taproot's possession, is now they will bring the ball up, giving it to JCK. We may see some starters starting to slip back in. See if JCK, he picked it up in the second quarter. See if he can do it again in the third, but Norwich wants to bully his way down, loses the ball, gets his way up in the air, and Wadi clears it up in the and one. Belmare will send him to the line for a three-point possible play here with 1 minute and 1 second left to go in the third quarter.
Yeah, and that's a good thing for Wadi to have, being able to have a chance to cut this episode within the 6, and he does so here with 72:66 left, with only 1 minute left in the third quarter. And right now, we do get to see a majority of the starters starting to come back here as Turner lays it up and in.
Yeah, and one for I see on the floor right now that has me worried is Scooney. They brought him back, and got to keep an eye on him. If he were to get his 5th foul in this third quarter, that would not be a great way to go into the final quarter. But the missed shot from Doyle, quick play to Springer, and as you see, Barrett was not able to jump for the ball, but was impactful enough to make it count. My heart stopped a little bit when I saw that, and Scooney rushing to the defense, but 10 seconds separate the shot clock and game clock here, so now it's just about finding a good possession here. And Norwich almost made it work. The pull-up jumper will leave Plymouth with the last shot, and Cruz finds a way around the defense and slams it down. I take it back. Taproots will not have the last shot. And a quick play to Barrett. That was a full court pass, but no good. And Barrett, the putback, I think that counted.
I don't think it did. I didn't see the scoreboard change, so it might still be a 10-point deficit, as the Roots are up 76-66.
Yeah, they waved it off. They called it as him having his paw still on the ball. He needed to do that as a layup, not a dunk, and that's just so close there. And that would have been so impactful there. Obviously, that full court pass all the way to him almost made it work. You can see both teams bringing their starters back out to begin this fourth quarter, down by 10, and JCK does it on his own to the paint, and it's good.
Yeah, and that's something you want to see from JCK, being able to find some sort of offense as much as possible. He has been able to get some sort of rhythm going as the game goes on, as Marone gets blocked heavily there, and it will stay with the Roots.
Yeah, and as we saw, Turner only 14 points, but we saw this previously when he only had 9 going into the fourth quarter, and he put up a 20 for 20. So keep an eye on. Ooh, looks like it bounced off the defender back into the player passing in bounds, and that's going to be a turnover. And that's just the difficulties of trying to pass in bounds over these big bodies.
Yeah, and now Hawaii has an opportunity to cut this down even more so as Turner gets his second personal. So JCK once again goes to the line for 2 more. And if he has to play that role to be the guard that drives into the paint for a majority of the game, I wouldn't mind it because it gives you an opportunity to get a higher field goal percentage shot, and it'll give you a chance to draw some fouls on some very key players on the Root side.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'd like to see him keep it mid-range. The problem with driving into the post against the Taproots is that Turner, all it takes is one step for him to really be in your face, and he's such a difficult fur to get around. Obviously, if you can get contact on him and get those fouls going, that's honestly like hitting the lottery. But it does decrease the field goal percentage when you get that close to him. He's had success from both ranges, so as long as he's able to play it smart, I think it will work out in the end. And quick play there, and field goal percentage tied 41%.
And I will have to pretty much emphasize when it comes to Hawaii, they need to continue to try and find some kind of defensive stops that they, in order to really get back into this game as another failed field goal attempt for the Kahunas as Cruz goes for 3, and actually no, it was a long 2, so his paws were on the line.
Yeah, he's not happy about that because he was so wide open. He took the most difficult 2 you could just about take in terms of distance, and he would have been much happier if that had been 3. And a long 2 from Doyle over Tate keeps it within 8, or over Turner.
Now we're seeing the mid-range start to come into more of a play here, trying to get the perimeter offense going for both sides. As Cruz goes for a 3 again, but it's no good.
If it had been a 2, it would have been good. But that was his 13th point, and he struggled a bit from beyond the arc tonight, and that's kind of been a range that both teams have struggled with, and it's been a real battle of the post. JCK, what is he going to do? He has excelled from all ranges here except for the three-point land, and Scooney just uses his experience against Springer, and Taproot's going to call time out here, and I think that's more so to make sure that they get their starters subbed in because 10 minutes left to go in this final quarter. They can't afford to let that 6-point lead disappear.
Yeah, they don't want to be in the same situation as the Kahunas were early on in this game when they had a pretty hefty lead, trying to rely on the bench to try and keep it at a distance, but it just didn't work out for them.
And they will keep Springer in. Again, a player who's been a starter for a while, so some advantage there, and Tate blocks her. Back to DeMarcus at the top of the arc, calling for the screen, but Scooney is all over the snake, and that's Scooney's 5th personal foul. That
and
is...
Yeah, and considering it's under 10 minutes, do you think that they would be willing to take him out for a couple of more minutes before bringing him back in for maybe around 6 or 7 left in the game? Or do you think it's just good to just keep him in for now?
I mean, I'm not a coach. I'll probably never get hired to be a coach. But yes, I would have subbed him out and brought him in the last 5 minutes. I mean, you'd have a player who's on fresher legs, and you reduce the chance of him fouling out. You obviously have Waddy and Kealoha, who have had some moments. They've been shooting pretty well tonight, so I might feel a little bit more comfortable based on their performance earlier in this game to put them in. And JCK, that is just a little bit too much of a desperation shot there. And Matsunori dishing it to Springer, and now Vaston Hoots up to his 4th foul, and an and-one opportunity for Springer. And we might find ourselves with 2 Kahunas players in foul trouble if Yona draws his 5th in the next couple minutes.
Yeah, the Kahunas have to be really, really careful now with 2 of their starters already up in the foul count as high as they are, as we do get to see the 3-point play be finished for the Roots as they're up by double digits.
Yeah, but Delgado has been a bit of a lightning rod coming off the bench, even though not so much has he had an opportunity to play against the starters of the Taproots. And Turner, quick pass from DeMarcus is good. That's 16 points here tonight for the Giant Fox. And Yona, the spin move, elevating, gets some contact from Turner, but no call. He does convert it, and that's his 12th point. But again, the field goal percentage is not where you want it to be, below 40%. And a stripped JCK stealing the ball and in transition, has a lane to the basket against Springer. A little too much power, but Barrett picks up and puts it back, and that might be why they want to keep him on the floor, for that ability to clean up the glass and get the putback going.
Yeah, I was going to say that was going to be a good screen from Turner, but somehow the ball was loose, and they got the opportunity for the Kahunas to pick up the deficit down within single digits.
And there, Andre Matsunora with the put up, and that's just one of the dangers of Turner. Given the screen, even if you manage to fight your way around it, he's often driving to the basket because he knows that player is going to pop it up, and he will be there for the offensive board. But there we go, Mr. JCK with a three-pointer when it matters. First of tonight for the Kahunas, I feel like, at least for him. Springer.
Ooh.
Fouled out, and there it is, Scooty. That is heartbreaking, and we'll have to see if the pattern remains of the team with the player who fouled out losing the game, and that's where hindsight is 2020, because it would have been so much better if he had been out for until like the 5-minute mark.
Yeah, once again, this is probably another very questionable coaching decision for the Kahunas, because that's just something you don't really want to see. So once again, we do get to see a starting front court player that's a really key element in both of these teams have to sit out, but this time for an even longer period of time with just only 7 minutes and 30 seconds left of the game. That's a lot of time to be that it's costly, but JCK is able to keep it within it with a huge three right there.
Yeah, that's his second three in a row now, and I mean that's how you can get your team off of the focus of just losing Scoonies. If you can start making those threes, and Andre Matsunora misses his, and keep an eye on JCK. They might go back to him, see if he can do the trifecta, but no. Tate for the alley-oop, and has to be a little bit more finesse with it than probably would have liked, but it goes in, and just like that, it's a 4-point game, and the crowd is on their feet and back in it.
Yeah, the Kahunas have to be aggressive. I'm glad they're able to do it right there offensively. So being able to try and take those moments, really get the Roots to be rattled, saying that we're not going to give up without a fight, as we can see Ryder going for a long three, and it's no good. Not his shot in particular, as Kealoha gets the rebound.
Yeah, and the big thing is the morale of the team with Scooty on the floor. He probably said some words to the team as he was heading to the bench, and it is important for them to stay in this game, and Springer gets an open lane, and she dunks it down. And back to 6-1, the crowd starts to get quiet, and I want to see JCK with another three opportunity. I want to see him make it and get this down to a 3-point game, but the defense is tight on him. So he goes into the paint, no good, but Tate cleaning it up. That works, and it's a 4-point game.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what's going to be your 1-2 punch. If JCK is not going to make it, then Tate's going to have to rely on his physicality to get back up into the paint and really clean it up.
And that's the side effect of forcing Turner being blocked. When they force Turner to help out on defense, that leaves it open for Tate. Vasu, open lane to the basket all the way, and Cruz gets his 4th foul, and now he joins the club of players that you have to keep an eye on, even though he hasn't necessarily been as impactful on offense. But here we go.
But I think a 4th foul here is a more reasonable than a 4th foul than with 10 minutes left in the 4th quarter. So he can still play a little bit more aggressive as the time goes on, but of course we do have to be careful as the time runs down.
And as you see, the Taproots have the advantage in terms of going to the free throw line, but now it's only a 2-point game. And a quick pass to River, who came off the bench, and that's Norwich's first, and it looks like they made that substitution. give a little bit of a break for PLY. And a chance for River. He's been perfect tonight from the free throw line. See if he can continue that streak. And, of course, Caster's curse misses the first.
But let's see if he's able to make this next one to make it only a tying scenario, and he does so there.
Yeah, but 5.5 minutes left to go. That's plenty of time. We've seen the Taproots come back and establish a 10-point lead, and we've seen the Kahunas go on a 5-minute scoring drought. So, but JCK, oh, that was beautiful. Turner tried to go for a charge, but JCK pulled up for a teardrop, just not able to get it to convert. So Taproots will have the possession now.
Yeah, that was a really cheeky move there by the Fox. You don't really see him do a lot of charge attempts that often.
Well, he's known JCK has been attacking the basket. We've seen alley-oop attempt, and that's a horrible situation as Cruz just sticks his wing up and taps it. Again, that could have been a huge momentum breaker if it had been a nice slam dunk. Get your crowd going. And Matsunoro calls for the screen to Turner. Turner does get to fall, and it's a 5-point game here. And we'll have to see if that failed alley-oop attempt comes back to haunt them.
Yeah, like I said, alley-oop attempts, while they are very nice, fancy, does get everybody up on their feet. It does have a high-risk, high-reward scenario, as Yona's not able to get it down.
Yeah, and he was just so open there with that. He went for a teardrop because the defender came in. I think he could have gone for a double clutch and had a better chance at success, and that's just a painful miss as Turner's almost guaranteed to get this rebound, and he does. Tate was nowhere around there to box him out, and second possession attempt, and they're double teaming River, which leads to Marcus wide open from beyond the arc, and he is good for three. And it's a 8-point game now, so you have to keep an eye on JCK as he's going to bring it up the court and call for a screen. He is open from mid-range, but just off to the left.
Yeah, I think right now it might be better for him to try and be off the ball a little bit more, as we see Turner with a long mid-ranger, but it's no good there.
If I'm the Kahunas coach, I'm calling timeout right now. You need to recenter your team. You need to get them focused again. And Yona with the pull-up is good, however. Maybe on the next possession we might see a timeout again. A 6-point lead, 3 minutes to go. This is the critical Game 5. This is whoever has game, series, match, point. Whoever comes out on top here.
Hey, remember, Scooney has fouled out within this game. They're pretty much going to ride without him, and Zach Tate draws the foul there. Second personal on him, as River gets to go on the line for 2.
Yeah, and this is where you get into the vicious cycle of fouling. I mean, you need the stops. Yes, it's nice if you can make them only get 1 point away, but you're down to maybe a handful of possessions left, and you have to make each of them count. You have to make each defensive stop count, and he's good on the first, and they might be the first across the century mark, and if he does, it will be an 8-point deficit here.
Yeah, and it's a doable one with only 3 minutes left in the game, but as you alluded to, each possession matters at this final stretch. They need to be able to get their offense going, and they have to get those important stops on defense, and you can see the failed attempt there, so they're only down by 7.
Yeah, but that's still 3 possessions, and that's 3 possessions you have to make up. And Doyle looked like he wanted to go for a 3 there, but calls for the screen, gets open, but blocked by Turner, and that is a wasted possession. Turner comes flying in. The Flying Fox just gets a finger on it and gets the collect the block. Tate almost was there. And Cruz for 3. Not able to get it. Norwich, great boxing out of River.
Yeah, right now, that's going to be a very interesting matchup with Alphonse. Even though he is the smaller third between the two, I would say he is definitely the more physical of the two.
Well, I mean, he definitely knows how to use his size to his advantage, even though it may not be as bulky as River. That lower center of mass does give him some advantages when boxing out. And DeMarcus, the step slither back, is able to make that work. 15 points from him tonight. 7-point game still here. JCK was able to find a bucket last possession, and Turner getting a called for that foul on Alphonse, going the line 4-2. Good on the first, and Alphonse 10 rebounds here tonight so far, and is able to make both free throws. Ice in the veins of the veteran.
But will that ice be good enough to get Hawaii to really start trying to get the control back into this game? As Tahiri tries to drive it in, but no good. Good defense there by Tate.
Yeah, well, under 2 minutes left to go in a 5-point game, and a cross-court pass to JCK. JCK on the Norwich. Norwich, the veteran, getting it back to a one-possession game. The whole crowd is off their feet. Yes, the Cougars are still down, but they are not out.
Yeah, Alphonse really just showing his leadership and being able to rely himself on the paint. And that's something you would like to see. And Tahiri wide open for three, but it's no good.
And JCK dish out to Doyle. Fast break, one-on-one, and Doyle just running straight into DeMarcus, and he wanted to go the line. A little slow to get up, but he looks like he's okay. And this could be a one-point game here if he makes both of them. Good on the first. And the second, no good, but it's still a one-possession game with 70 seconds left to go. And the Taproots want to speed it up. They're giving it down to DeMarcus. DeMarcus doesn't get to fall, but Turner cleans it up and makes the shot, and it's a 4-point game. And with 62 seconds left to go.
And that's the best situation you want within this game, because of the fact that you know that Kenny had no choice but to foul there, and with that player only making one of the two free throws, which is very, very costly here, they're now only up by 2 possessions.
Oh, man, and the miss there from Yona, that's huge, and they need a stop here. If they can't get a defensive stop, it's over. And Turner, oh, Lord, he just bullies his way against JCK and slams it down, and that's a 6-point game with 40 seconds to go. Obviously, the Kahunas are going to have to call timeout, and I feel like they have to draw a 3-point play for JCK here.
Yeah, they're going to have to, with only down by 6, so they can easily tie this game up with these next 2 possessions if they're able to get 2 more stops within it. But once again, they need to get that scoring opportunities. Try and find that open lane. So they may see JCK having an opportunity to take a 3, but it hits the side of the rim, and that might be it there.
Yeah, it looks like they'll let them burn the shot clock down. They're going to try and go for a defensive stop here. If they can stop them here, they'll still have about 14 seconds on the game clock. They'll probably call a timeout and go for a play, but Andrea Matsunora left wide open, no good. But River gets the offensive rebound, and that is unfortunate. He came up with that somehow, and I think that's the end of it. That's a 7-point game now, a 8-point game.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Kahunas will call a final timeout to see if they can do just talk it over, and I think there might be one of those final things of saying that this pretty much is going to be it. The lead is just too much to really take over with only just 16 seconds left within the game.
A 3, get fouled and make it, hit the free throw, another 3 off the steal. It'd be quite a mountain to overcome, and unfortunately it does not. They got back within 3 points at one point, and even 1 point at one point, but unable to. And that will wrap up Game 5. Taproots come out on top on the road, and we'll dive into the stats real quick. Doyle, 2 for 8, 6 total points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. JCK, 22 points, 8 for 22, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal. Bastenhoot, 16 points, 2 assists, 7 for 20 from the floor. And Tate, short of a double-double, but perfect from the floor. Would like to have seen him more involved, but 7 blocks. Coming in big on defense, but not enough here tonight. Norwich, 8 points, 10 rebounds. Barrett fouling out with 12 points, 6 rebounds. Only was able to be on the floor for 19 minutes and drew 6 fouls in 19 minutes. That's a scary rate of being called for fouls. Blanc, 4 points, 6 rebounds, and an assist. Delgado, 4 for 8, 9 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. Kealoha, 4 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block. And jumping on down to the last few bench players, Waddy, 3 points, 3 rebounds, 3 blocks. Sunderman, 4 points, 1 assist. King, 2 points, 1 for 4 from the field. And you kind of start to see the bench players started to struggle in that second half when they had perfect stat lines going in to the first half coming to a close. Started to not be able to find their shots in the second. And jumping on over to the Taproots, Turner, 22 points, 26 rebounds, only 2 blocks, not able to really be as impactful on defense as previous games. DeMarcus, 15 points, 5 rebounds. Cruz, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block plus steal. Most of his misses coming from the 3-point line, 1 for 6 total. Andrea Matsunoro, not doing so hot this night either. 3 for 12, 7 points total, 4 assists, and a rebound with a block. River, double-double, got almost all of his points from the free throw line. 8 of his 12 came from the charity stripe, with 11 rebounds, 2 of which were offensive, 2 blocks, a steal, and an assist. Jumping on down to Springer, 5 for 10, 12 points total, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Morone, 6 points, 2 for 7, 3 assists, 1 rebound. Celis, 4 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, 2 for 9 from the field. Not a great night for her coming off the bench, but I'm sure she'll be happy with a win here. Nonetheless, without her stepping up, it was Springer tonight coming off the bench that really made the difference for the Taproots. As well as the combo of Belmare and Samantha. 8 points for both of them, 5 rebounds for both of them, and 3 blocks between them. Belmare going 3 for 3, and Samantha 3 for 5. Krillinger 0 for 3, only an assist to his name and his 11 minutes on the floor. And Sophia was super quiet tonight, only taking 1 shot attempt and missing it. It was a 3-pointer, and not really needed tonight, unlike last game where she stepped up. And with that, we will dive into the team comparisons. And I definitely remember, just from off the top of my head, it was the second quarter where the Taproots looked like they were falling apart, but they came back strong in the third quarter.
Yeah, and this is once again one of those moments where the Roots have been able to take control when necessary, and the Kahunas did a really good job in the early going of this game, being able to stay ahead, and that's props to them. But when the Roots start turning on, they didn't really get a chance to turn it off. So the Kahunas once again were stuck in a situation where they lose once again another huge deficit, and they weren't able to recover from that. And now their backs are against the wall going into game 6 in a very hostile environment against the Roots. And it's going to be really hard for them to really answer back into this one.
Yeah, even though we just saw them do it not too long ago, it is still a possibility that this could go to 7. That's what I'm rooting for, but obviously you and I both know that a down 3-2 on the road is not a position any team wants to be in. That is not a position that is easy to overcome. And obviously, with Scooney fouling out, I'm sure he's going to have a chip on his shoulder going into the next game and see if he can maybe turn the tides back in the Kahuna's favor.
Yeah, that's going to be one thing that we're going to be looking into. That's going to be the storyline coming into game 6. What will Scooney do as on the road, chip on his shoulder, pretty much the championship on the line here? They need to be able to get things done on the road to see if they can finally raise that Keely Davis trophy in Hawaii, because that's the only way that's the only option they have now.
Yeah, and you have to think, if they do manage to do that, that their chances of winning the series go astronomically higher. Obviously, they've dropped 2 on the road, but if you're the Taproots right now, you have to realize that they are under pressure as well. It's their series to lose at this point, and if they lose at home, that mindset to come back to Hawaii for a game 7 is going to be so difficult when you know you had it in the palms of your hand at home in front of your home crowd. Whereas for the Taproot, for the Kahunas, their stress is obviously, their pressure is going to be on the fact that, hey, we're about to lose another series. We lost last year in a 6-game series, and they're afraid history is going to repeat itself.
Well, I think this is once again, this could be an opportunity for with experience at play. You've been in this situation before, so what are you going to do as a team to kind of change the history here? And all this is essentially the Taproot series to lose. They're at home. They have one of the most hostile environments in the league, arguably, on their side. And right now, at this current moment, they have all the momentum. And so far, it's going to be interesting to see what they can do to really try and finish this up in six, because I'm sure they do not want to come back here in Hawaii in this environment and try and do what could be near the impossible to win out. So I think if you're a Roots fan, you want to wrap this up in these next couple of days. That's going to call for the Roots to finally get their first win in the last 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be an extremely amazing game. We need to see who can step up in Game 6. Will we get a Game 7? Who knows? I want a Game 7. I want to rack up those miles. I want to see more great basketball. But more
Yeah,
importantly, I want to
I
see
think
a
I think
double overtime Game 7.
yeah, I think everybody would want a piece of that because um, I think 7 game series are always a fun thing to see, especially when you see the top two teams duke it out as the way that they have. But of course, in order to do that, Kawhi is going to have to take every bit of energy that they have left in the tank to really get it done in order to be able to take one on the road.
Yeah, there's no saving, holding anything back at this point. Any plays you've got stashed away, you pull them out of the playbook now. But I think that's going to wrap it up here tonight. Anything you want to say before we send everyone home for the night?
Well, I think the only thing that I have to say is that it's been once again a pleasure working with you again on this series. It's been a very fun one, and it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in Game 6 as we head back over to Plymouth, and we'll see if whether or not we're going to be crowning a champion that night.
Yeah, they're going to have all the balloons ready, and if it turns out to be a waste, there's going to be a lot of upset maintenance workers having to tear it all down and take all the confetti cannons away. But nonetheless, I've been Ryan Eastman. Joining me once again in the booth was Marcus Baylor, and thank you all for tuning in. And don't forget to tune in for Game 6. We might have a champion declared, or we might get to see a wonderful game that leads to a Game 7. You never know. Have a wonderful night, everyone.